The stars had always called to humanity. For thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. When they finally reached the stars, they found the answer. They were not alone. The galaxy was full of life. Hundreds of species lived among the stars. Some were old, with empires that had existed for millions of years. Some were young, still learning how to travel between worlds. And then there were the humans. When humanity first made contact with alien life, the galaxy did not know what to think. These creatures from a small blue planet were strange. They were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest. They did not have claws or scales or natural weapons. Their bodies were soft and easy to hurt. By all measures, they should have been nothing special. But humans had something else. They had patience. They had kindness. And they had an endless desire to make friends. Ambassador was one of the first humans to work in the Galactic Assembly. He was a tall man with gray hair and gentle eyes. He had spent 40 years of his life talking to aliens, learning their languages, understanding their cultures. He believed that any problem could be solved with words instead of weapons. Every species has its own story, often said to his young assistants. Our job is to listen to those stories and find common ground. The Galactic Assembly was a massive station floating in neutral space. Representatives from over 300 species gathered there to discuss trade, borders, and disputes. It was a place of politics and power, where the strong often pushed around the weak. Humans had no real power in the Assembly. Earth's military was small. Their technology was good but not exceptional. They had no ancient empire or great wealth. Most species looked at humans the way a grown adult might look at a small child trying to join a serious conversation. They were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They were tall beings with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. Their empire controlled over 2,000 star systems. They had conquered dozens of other species throughout their history. To them, strength was everything. Weakness was shameful. Lord was the representative to the Assembly. He was old even by standards, and he had little respect for younger species. He especially had no respect for humans. "Tell me, Ambassador," said one day during a council meeting. His voice was cold and mocking. "Why does your species even bother coming here? You have nothing to offer. You have no strength. You are like small insects trying to speak with giants." The room fell silent. Other representatives watched with interest. Some smiled, enjoying the insult. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Simply smiled. It was the same calm smile he always wore. "Lord," he replied, his voice steady and warm. "We come here because we believe in cooperation. We believe that all species, no matter how big or small, can work together for a better future. We may not have great armies or ancient empires, but we have hope. And sometimes, hope is the most powerful thing of all." Laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. Hope. Hope will not protect you when a stronger species decides to take what you have. Hope will not stop weapons. Your kindness is weakness, human. One day you will learn this lesson. Bowed his head politely. "Perhaps. But until that day, we will continue to offer friendship to all who want it." This was how it always went. Species insulted humanity. They mocked human kindness. They called humans weak and foolish, and humans just smiled and continued being kind. Years passed, then decades. Humanity spread across the stars slowly and carefully. They built colonies on distant worlds. They traded with whoever would trade with them. They helped species in need, even when those species had been cruel to them before. When they was hit by a terrible plague, humans sent medical ships and scientists to help. They asked for nothing in return. When they lost their crops to a space fungus, human farmers traveled across the galaxy to teach them new growing methods. Again, they asked for nothing. The galaxy did not understand this. Why would any species help others without wanting something back? It made no sense. Some species thought humans were stupid. Others thought it was some kind of trick. A few started to wonder if maybe humans knew something they did not. Sumi was a young diplomat who worked under Ambassador. She was smart and quick, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had grown up hearing stories about how other species treated humans. She had seen the insults and the mockery with her own eyes. "Ambassador," she asked one evening, "why do we let them treat us this way? We have done nothing wrong. We have only tried to help. Why do we accept their cruelty?" Looked out the window at the stars. His old eyes were tired but still full of warmth. "Because cruelty answered with cruelty only creates more cruelty," he said softly. "We choose to be kind not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to make that choice. One day, the galaxy will understand this. One day, they will see that our patience is not weakness. It is a gift." Sumi was not sure she believed him, but she trusted him, so she continued to smile at the insults. She continued to offer help to those who mocked her. She held on to hope, just as had taught her. But deep in human space, far from the Galactic Assembly, things were different. While diplomats smiled and offered friendship, others were preparing for a day that everyone hoped would never come. Admiral commanded the human defense fleet. She was a woman of few words and sharp intelligence. While believed in peace, believed in being ready for war. She did not hate aliens. She simply understood that not everyone in the galaxy shared humanity's values. In secret shipyards hidden in dark corners of space, human engineers built warships. These were not the small patrol vessels that the galaxy knew about. These were something else entirely, something that humanity had never shown to anyone. "We hope for the best," said to her officers during a private meeting, "but we prepare for the worst. One day, our kindness may be seen as an invitation to attack. On that day, we must be ready to show the galaxy what we have been holding back." Her officers nodded. They understood. Humanity's smile was real. Their kindness was genuine. But behind that smile was a strength that no one had ever seen. The peaceful years continued. Humans kept helping. Humans kept smiling. The galaxy kept laughing at them. No one knew that everything was about to change. Colony 7 was a beautiful world. It sat at the edge of human space, a green and blue jewel floating in the darkness. 12 million people called it home. There were farmers and teachers, doctors and artists, children and grandparents. It was a peaceful place, far from the politics of the Galactic Assembly. Was a teacher on 7. Every morning he walked to the small school near his home and taught young children about the stars. He told them about Earth, that they had never seen. He told them about the galaxy and all its wonders. He taught them that kindness was important, that understanding others was the key to a good life. "Will we ever meet aliens, teacher?" a little girl asked one day. Smiled, "Maybe one day. And when you do, remember to be kind to them. Show them the best of what humans can be." The children laughed and nodded. They had no reason to be afraid. Their world was safe. Their future was bright. Far away in the Empire, Lord was making plans. He had grown tired of humans. Their kindness insulted him. Their patience made him angry. He saw them as weak creatures who did not deserve the worlds they had claimed. "Humans have taken territory that should belong to stronger species," told the War Council. "They spread across the stars like insects. They pretend to be friends to everyone, but they are really just waiting to grow strong enough to challenge us." The other council members listened. Some agreed with, others were not so sure. "The humans have never attacked anyone," one general pointed out. "They have always kept their promises. They have even helped our people when we needed medical supplies." Slammed his 4 fists on the table. "That is their trick. They want us to feel grateful. They want us to lower our guard. Then when we are not watching, they will strike. We must destroy them before they become a threat." The council debated for many hours. In the end, its words won. They had always believed that showing mercy was showing weakness. If humans were allowed to keep growing, they might one day become a real problem. Better to end them now, while they were still weak. The fleet was massive. Over 500 warships gathered in secret at the edge of human space. Their target was Colony 7. It was a soft target far from Earth with almost no defenses, the perfect place to send a message. Admiral commanded the fleet. He was a soldier, not a politician. He had his doubts about this mission. Attacking civilians did not feel right to him, but orders were orders. The War Council had decided and he would obey. "Remember," told his captains, "this is not a battle. This is a lesson. We will show the galaxy what happens to weak species who forget their place. Leave nothing standing." On 7, life continued as normal. Parents went to work. Children went to school. Farmers worked in their fields. No one knew what was coming. Was a young mother with 2 small children. That morning, she made breakfast for her family and kissed her husband goodbye. He worked at the colony's communications center. It was a normal job on a normal day. "I will be home for dinner," he said with a smile. "Bring something sweet for the kids," she replied. Those were the last words they ever spoke to each other. The fleet arrived at midday. They came out of faster-than-light travel all at once, filling the sky with warships. Colony 7 had only a few old patrol ships and a basic defense grid. It was nothing against the might of the Empire. The attack lasted 6 hours. Was in his classroom when the first bombs fell. The ground shook. The windows shattered. Children screamed. He grabbed as many of them as he could and ran toward the emergency shelters. But the shelters were not built for this kind of attack. They were meant for storms, not war. He made it to the shelter with 7 children. They huddled together in the darkness as the world above them burned. He told them stories to keep them calm. He held them close and promised that everything would be okay. It was a lie. He knew it was a lie, but it was all he could give them. Ran through the streets with her children in her arms. Buildings collapsed around her. Ships flew overhead, firing down at everything that moved. She saw her neighbors fall. She saw her home destroyed. She kept running, not knowing where to go, just knowing she had to protect her bobbies. She found a broken building and hid inside. She covered her children with her body and prayed to whatever might be listening. The hours passed like years. When the attack finally ended, 7 was gone. The cities were rubble. The fields were ash. The sky was black with smoke. Of the 12 million people who had called this world home, only a few thousand survived. They crawled out of the ruins, broken and lost, unable to understand what had happened or why. Survived. 3 of his 7 students survived. The others did not make it when the shelter finally collapsed. He carried the survivors out into the burned wasteland that had been his home. He had no words. There were no words for this. Survived, her children survived, but her husband did not. The communication center was one of the first targets. She found his name on the list of the dead 3 days later. She did not cry. She had no tears left. The news reached Earth within hours. At first, people did not believe it. There had to be a mistake. They would never do something like this. Humans had always been kind to them. Humans had helped them. This made no sense. But the evidence was undeniable. Ships sent to investigate found nothing but death and destruction. They recorded everything and sent it back to Earth. Every burned building, every broken body, every child who would never grow up. Ambassador watched the recordings in his office. His old face was pale. His hands shook. He had spent his entire life believing that kindness could solve any problem. He had spent 40 years building bridges between species. And now, 12 million of his people were dead. Sumi found him sitting alone in the dark. "Ambassador," she said softly, "what do we do?" Did not answer for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. The warmth was gone. The gentleness was gone. "I do not know," he whispered. "I do not know any more." The Galactic Assembly was silent when news of the attack spread. Some species expressed sympathy. Others said nothing at all. The representative, Lord, smiled when asked about it. The humans were warned, he said coldly. Weakness invites attack. Perhaps now they will learn their place. He expected humans to cry and beg. He expected them to ask for help from the assembly. He expected them to accept their defeat and become servants of stronger species. That was how the galaxy worked. He was wrong. Admiral received the death count in her command center. 12 million dead. 12 million innocent people murdered for no reason except that they were human. She read the number once, then again. Then she put down the report and stood very still. Her officers watched her in silence. They had never seen her like this. Admiral was always calm, always controlled. But now something had changed behind her eyes. Something cold and terrible had woken up. "Get me a connection to the Galactic Assembly," she said. Her voice was quiet but carried across the room like thunder. "It is time for the galaxy to learn the truth about humanity." The peaceful years were over. The Galactic Assembly was busy with normal business when the transmission came through. Representatives from hundreds of species were discussing trade agreements and border disputes. Lord sat in his usual place, looking pleased with himself. The attack on 7 had gone perfectly. Now humans would finally understand their place in the galaxy. Then every screen in the assembly went dark. A single human face appeared on all of them at once. It was Admiral. Her eyes were cold. Her face showed no emotion. She wore the formal uniform of the Human Defense Fleet. Behind her, the stars were visible through a large window. "This message is being broadcast on all frequencies across the galaxy," began. Her voice was calm and steady. "Every ship, every station, every world with a receiver will hear these words. I am Admiral of the Human Defense Fleet, and I speak for all of humanity." The assembly fell completely silent. Even Lord stopped smiling. 3 days ago, the Empire attacked our colony 7. They killed 12 million of our people. Men, women, and children. They burned our cities. They destroyed our homes. They murdered our families. Paused. Her eyes seemed to look directly at everyone watching. "We have been part of this galactic community for over 200 years. In that time, we have never started a war. We have never attacked another species. We have offered friendship to everyone, even those who insulted us and mocked us and called us weak." She leaned forward slightly. "We helped the when plague destroyed there. We taught the how to save their crops. We shared our medicine, our technology, our knowledge with anyone who asked. We did this because we believed in kindness. We believed in peace. We believed that the galaxy could be a better place if we all worked together." Her voice grew harder. "And how did the galaxy repay us? With laughter, with insults, with cruelty. You called us weak because we chose not to fight. You called us foolish because we chose to help others. You thought our kindness was a sign that we could not defend ourselves." Stood straight. Behind her, lights began to turn on. Ships were visible through the window. Hundreds of ships, then thousands. They stretched across the darkness like an endless wall of steel and fire. "You were wrong." The assembly erupted in shocked voices. Representatives pointed at the screens. Some stood up from their seats. Others looked at the human delegation with wide eyes. No one had ever seen human warships like this. No one had known they existed. "For 200 years we have hidden our true strength," continued. "We built our warships in secret. We trained our soldiers far from curious eyes. We developed weapons that no species has ever seen. We did this not because we wanted war, but because we knew that one day our kindness might be mistaken for weakness. One day someone might think we were easy prey." She looked directly into the camera. "Lord, you said that our hope would not protect us. You were right. Hope alone is not enough. That is why we never relied on hope alone." In the assembly, Lord had gone pale. His 4 hands gripped the edge of his seat. He tried to speak, but no words came out. "The ships you see behind me are the First Fleet," said. There are 4 more fleets just like it. Each fleet contains 5,000 warships. Our smallest destroyer could destroy a cruiser in single combat. Our largest battleship could reduce your capital city to dust in minutes." She let those words sink in. We never wanted to use these weapons. We built them hoping we would never need them. Every year we prayed that peace would last. Every year we chose kindness over war, but you have forced our hand. You have killed our children. You have burned our homes. You have spilled innocent blood. His voice dropped to almost a whisper, but somehow it seemed louder than ever. You have taken our children. We gave you peace. Now witness what we held back. The screens showed the human fleet beginning to move. Thousands of engines lit up at once. The formation shifted, spreading out like the wings of some massive creature preparing to strike. "This message is also for the rest of the galaxy," continued. "We have no quarrel with you. We do not seek empire. We do not want to conquer anyone, but understand this clearly. Anyone who stands with them will be considered our enemy. Anyone who offers them shelter will share their fate. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is a warning." On 7, survivors watched the broadcast on broken screens, sat with the 3 children he had saved, watching in silence. He did not know what to feel. Part of him still believed in the kindness Ambassador had taught. Part of him wanted them to suffer for what they had done. Watched with her 2 children sleeping in her arms. Her face was empty. She had lost her husband, her home, her entire life. Watching the massive human fleet on the screen, she felt something she had not felt since the attack. Hope. And something else. Something darker. In the assembly, representatives started talking over each other. Some demanded that they be punished for starting this. Others worried about what humans might do next. A few tried to call for calm, but no one listened. Lord finally found his voice. "This is a bluff," he shouted. "Humans are weak. Everyone knows this. They cannot possibly have such a fleet. This is fake, a trick of technology." Admiral seemed to hear him somehow. She smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "To prove that this is not a bluff, I will give a demonstration. In exactly 1 hour, our fleet will destroy Military Station 7. This station is in deep space, far from any civilian population. We chose it specifically because we are not like you. We do not murder innocents. But make no mistake, Lord. If you do not surrender and face justice for your crimes, we will come for your next." The broadcast ended. The screens returned to normal, but nothing in the assembly would ever be normal again. On the human of Earth, people gathered in the streets to watch the message. Many cried. Some cheered. Most just stood in silence, trying to understand what was happening. Their species had always been peaceful. Their leaders had always taught them that kindness was strength. Now they were seeing a different side of humanity, a side that had been hidden for centuries. Ambassador watched from his office on the assembly station. His old heart felt heavy. He had spent his whole life working for peace. Now war was coming, and he could not stop it. Sumi found him staring out the window. "Ambassador," she said quietly, "Admiral is asking for you. She wants to know if you have a message for the assembly." Was silent for a long moment, then he shook his head. "Tell her I have nothing more to say. I spent 40 years speaking for peace. My words did not save those 12 million lives. Perhaps it is time for someone else to speak." Exactly 1 hour later, Military Station 7 exploded. The human fleet had arrived exactly when promised and destroyed the station in less than 3 minutes. There were no survivors. They had tried to fight back, but their weapons did nothing against human shields. Their ships were torn apart before they could even aim properly. The galaxy watched in shock. This was not the humanity they knew. This was something else, something terrible and beautiful and absolutely unstoppable. The warning had been delivered. Now the real war would begin. The human fleet moved through space like a storm that could not be stopped. 5,000 warships traveled in perfect formation, their engines burning bright against the darkness. At their head flew the command ship, carrying Admiral and her senior officers. Captain stood at the tactical station, watching the stars stream past on the main screen. He was a young officer, only 35 years old, but he had trained for this moment his entire life. Like all officers in the secret fleet, he had grown up knowing that one day humanity might need to fight. Admiral reported, "We will reach space in 6 hours. Enemy scouts have detected our approach. They are calling for reinforcements." Nodded, she sat in her command chair, perfectly still, her eyes fixed on the screen ahead. Let them call. Let them gather their entire fleet. It will not matter. The War Council was in chaos. Lord screamed at his generals, demanding to know how humans had built such a fleet without anyone noticing. The generals had no answers. Their spies had watched human space for years and had seen nothing. The secret shipyards had been too well hidden. "We have 800 warships in the home system," Admiral reported grimly. "Another 300 can arrive within 2 days, but Admiral, I must tell you the truth. Based on what we saw at Station 7, our ships cannot match theirs. Their weapons are too powerful. Their shields are too strong." Grabbed by his uniform. "Then find a way. We are the Empire. We have conquered dozens of species. We will not be defeated by these insects." Pulled himself free. "My lord, we underestimated them. They let us believe they were weak. They wanted us to think we could attack them without consequences. We fell into their trap." "It is not a trap," insisted. "We struck first. We showed strength. That is how the galaxy works." Looked at him with tired eyes. "And now they are showing us what real strength looks like." The human fleet entered space exactly when had predicted. 800 warships waited for them, arranged in a defensive formation around there. It was an impressive sight. Any other species would have turned back at such a force. The human fleet did not slow down. "All ships, this is Admiral," she announced over the fleet channel. "Remember why we are here. Remember 7. Remember the 12 million. Today, we deliver justice. Today, the galaxy learns that humanity is not to be touched. All ships engage." The battle lasted 4 hours. Ships fired everything they had. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds. Their weapons splashed against human shields like rain against stone. Nothing got through. Human ships barely seemed to notice the attacks. Then the humans fired back. Captain led his squadron against the left flank. His ship moved through enemy fire with impossible grace, dodging and weaving while his weapons tore through enemy vessels. He watched a cruiser explode on his screen. Then another. Then another. "They are breaking formation," his second officer reported. "Enemy ships are trying to retreat." "Do not let them escape," ordered. "Any ship that attacks civilians does not deserve mercy." Across the battlefield, the same scene repeated over and over. Human ships hunted vessels without stopping. The advanced targeting systems never missed. The powerful weapons never failed. Ship after ship fell until the darkness of space was filled with burning wreckage. Admiral fought bravely. He stayed on his command ship until the end, giving orders even as his fleet died around him. When human ships surrounded his vessel, he refused to surrender. "I followed my orders," he said to his crew. "I did what my empire commanded. I have no regrets." His ship exploded moments later. He died as a soldier, not as a coward. Some humans respected that, even as they destroyed him. Lord did not fight. When he saw his fleet being destroyed, he tried to escape. He took his personal ship and ran toward the edge of the system, hopping to reach friendly space. He never made it. A human destroyer caught him within an hour. "Lord," Admiral's voice came over his communication system. "This is Admiral. You will surrender your ship and prepare to be taken into custody. You will face trial for crimes against humanity." Screamed at the screen. "I am a lord of the Empire. You cannot do this to me. The Galactic Assembly will not allow it." "The Galactic Assembly is not here," replied calmly. "And I do not care about your title. You ordered the murder of 12 million innocent people. You will answer for that. Ship was disabled and captured. He was taken aboard a human vessel in chains. For the first time in his long life, he understood what it felt like to be powerless. They surrendered after 72 hours. Their fleet was gone. Their military stations were destroyed. Human ships floated above their cities, weapons ready but not firing. Unlike the humans did not attack civilians. People of the broadcast to the planet below. Your military has been defeated. Your leaders will face justice for their crimes, but we are not here to conquer you. We are not here to destroy your civilization. We are here to deliver a message. She paused, letting her words reach every corner of the planet. Humanity offered you friendship. We offered you peace. We helped your people when you needed help, and you repaid us with murder. That was your choice. This is the consequence of that choice. Around the galaxy, other species watched what was happening. The Galactic Assembly held emergency meetings that lasted for days. Representatives argued about what to do, but no one suggested helping the. No one wanted to share their fate. The ambassador spoke first. Humans saved our world from plague. They asked for nothing, and we stood by and watched while others mocked them. We were wrong. The representative agreed. They taught us to save our crops. They gave us hope when we had none. We owe them a debt that can never be repaid. If they brought this upon themselves, then they must face the consequences alone. One by one, species that had benefited from human kindness spoke up. They did not support the human attack, but they did not oppose it either. They had started this war. They would face the results alone. On the burned ruins of 7, survivors watched the news with mixed feelings, held the children close as they watched human ships floating above the. Teacher, one of the children asked, "Are we the bad guys now?" Thought about this for a long time. "No," he finally said. "We did not want this. We never wanted this. But sometimes when someone hurts you very badly, you have to show them that hurting you has consequences. Otherwise, they will keep hurting you forever." Watched from a refugee camp. Her children were sleeping again. They slept a lot now, trying to escape from the nightmares that haunted their waking hours. She did not feel happy about what was happening to the, but she did not feel sad either. She felt empty. She wondered if she would ever feel anything again. The reckoning was complete. Now came the hardest part. What happened next? 6 months had passed since the fall of the Empire. The galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. Everything they thought they knew about humans had been wrong. The weak species that everyone had mocked was actually one of the most powerful civilizations in known space. Commander stood before the Galactic Assembly. She was young for such an important position, only 40 years old, but Admiral had chosen her personally for this task, had a gift for words. She could explain difficult things in ways that anyone could understand. And right now, the galaxy needed to understand. The assembly hall was packed. Every species had sent their most important representatives. Some had come out of fear. Others had come out of curiosity. All of them wanted to know what humanity planned to do next. Looked out at the sea of alien faces. She saw fear in many eyes. That was understandable. Humanity had just destroyed one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy in less than a week. Anyone would be afraid after seeing that. "Thank you all for coming," she began. Her voice was calm and clear. "I know many of you have questions. I know many of you are worried about what humanity will do now. I am here to answer those questions and ease those worries." She took a deep breath. "First, let me be clear about something. We never wanted this war. We never wanted to hurt anyone. For 200 years, we tried everything possible to live in peace with the galaxy. We offered friendship. We gave help. We accepted insults and mockery without fighting back. We did this because we believed that kindness was the right way to live." Her voice grew softer, sadder. "We still believe that. What happened with the does not change who we are at our core. We are still the species that helped the fight their plague. We are still the species that taught the to save their crops. We are still the species that would rather make friends than enemies." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we also learned something important. Kindness alone is not enough. Some beings will see kindness as weakness. Some beings will take and never give anything back. Some beings will hurt you simply because they think you cannot stop them." Her eyes hardened slightly. "The thought we could not stop them, they were wrong. We stopped them. We will stop anyone else who makes the same mistake." The assembly was completely silent. Representatives who had laughed at humans for centuries now listened with careful attention. "Let me tell you what we want," continued. "We want peace. Real peace, not the false peace of the powerful ruling the weak. We want trade and cooperation. We want species to work together, to help each other, to build something better than any of us could build alone. These are the same things we have always wanted." She spread her hands. "We do not want empire. We do not want to conquer your worlds or rule your people. We have no interest in becoming what they were. Power for its own sake means nothing to us." The ambassador raised a tentacle, requesting permission to speak, nodded. "Commander," they said, "my people owe humanity a great debt. You saved us when no one else would help, but I must ask, how can we trust that you will not use your power against us someday? You hid your true strength for 200 years. How do we know what else you are hiding?" It was a fair question, had expected it. "You are right to ask," she replied. "Trust must be earned, not demanded. We hid our fleet because we hoped we would never need it. We wanted to believe that the galaxy would accept us as we were, without weapons or threats. That was perhaps naive of us." She smiled sadly. "Here is what I can promise. We will not attack any species that has not attacked us first. We will continue to help those in need as we always have. We will be honest about our capabilities from now on. No more secrets. No more hiding. The galaxy deserves to know who we really are." The representative spoke next. "What will happen to will you destroy them completely?" "No," said firmly. "The people are not our enemies. Their leaders were our enemies. Those leaders have been captured and will face trial for their crimes. But the ordinary people of will be allowed to rebuild. We will even help them if they ask. That is who we are. We do not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty." Some representatives looked surprised. Others nodded with approval. Destroying the completely would have been the normal thing to do in galactic politics. Showing mercy was unusual. It reminded them that humans really were different from other powerful species. "One more thing," said, "and this is important. We are putting the galaxy on notice. Any species that attacks human civilians, any species that murders our children, any species that thinks they can hurt us without consequences, will face the same fate as This is not a threat. This is a promise. We will never strike first, but we will always strike last." She looked around the room one final time. "We never wanted war," she said quietly. "Remember that when you consider your next actions." The assembly remained silent long after she finished speaking. Then, slowly, representatives began to applaud. Not all of them, but enough. And dozens of other species that had received human help over the years showed their support. The galaxy had changed. Everyone knew it. The old order where the strong could abuse the weak without fear was over. A new order was beginning. It would not be perfect. There would still be conflicts and disagreements, but things would be different now. Because humanity was watching, and humanity would never forget. On what remained of 7, reconstruction had begun. Ships arrived every day carrying building materials and supplies. Volunteers from Earth and other human colonies came to help. Slowly, very slowly, the burned world was coming back to life. Return to teaching. He had a new classroom now in a temporary building that humans had set up for the children of survivors. The 3 students he had saved sat in the front row. They had nightmares sometimes, and they cried when they remembered their friends who had not survived. But they were learning again. They were healing. "Teacher," one of them asked, "will the bad aliens come back?" Shook his head. "No, they will never come back. Our people made sure of that." "Are we safe now?" Thought about Admiral and her massive fleet. He thought about Commander standing before the galaxy. He thought about all the humans who had worked in secret for generations, building warships and training soldiers, hoping they would never be needed. "Yes," he said, "we are safe now." Had moved to a new colony with her children. She did not want to rebuild on 7. There were too many memories there, too much pain. She needed a fresh start. Her children were growing up. They still asked about their father sometimes. She told them stories about him, about how kind he was, about how much he had loved them. She did not let them forget. She watched the news sometimes when the children were asleep. She saw reports about the trials of leaders. She saw lords sentenced to life in prison for crimes against humanity. She thought she would feel satisfaction. She felt nothing. No punishment could bring back her husband. No justice could undo what had been done. But she was alive. Her children were alive, and she would keep going for them. Ambassador retired after the war. He was too old and too tired to continue. He passed his position to Sumi, who had learned everything he could teach her. On his last day, she found him looking out at the stars. "Ambassador," she said, "thank you for everything." Smiled, and for a moment he looked like his old self again. "Remember what I taught you, Sumi. Kindness is still important. It is still the right way to live. But now you know that kindness must be backed by strength. Otherwise, it means nothing." Sumi nodded. "I understand." "Good," put a hand on her shoulder. "The galaxy is different now. It will need leaders who understand both peace and war. I think you will be one of those leaders." He walked away, leaving her alone with the stars. The galaxy remembered what had happened. They finally understood that humanity's kindness was a choice, not a weakness, and no species would ever forget the moment that choice ended. In the darkness between stars, human fleets continued their patrols, watching, waiting, hoping they would never be needed again, but ready, always ready to protect their people if danger ever returned. Because that was what it meant to be human. Kind enough to help anyone who needed help. Strong enough to destroy anyone who threatened what they loved. And wise enough to know when each choice was needed. The end.